no threat, no bombs, no war with Iran.
All right, are we ready for our next speaker?
Yeah.
A little bit more enthusiasm, y'all.
Yeah!
All right, please welcome Abbas from Al-Auda, or the Palestinian Right of Return movement. Thank you so much.
Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
U.S. out of the Middle East!
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 U.S. out of Iraq now!
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 No war on Iran!
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 U.S. out of the Middle East!
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 All right, we got a few more people attending, you see? They woke up. All right. So, I was at a No War on Iran rally a few weeks ago in Detroit. I think the same day, Don, you guys had a rally here too as well. So my apologies for not being here in Cleveland, in my hometown. But I saw the pictures from Don, and I'm very proud of you. So sometimes we have to spread the love. I was out in Detroit. We got to be everywhere. We got to be in every major city here in the United States to stop this lunatic in the White House. We need to stop this potential next war, this very dangerous war on Iran. Nobody here obviously wants war. But a potential war with Iran, make no mistake about it, is not a walk in the park. This is why we have to be out here in full force, because we have lunatics running this government. They are simply out of their minds, because Iran is not a walk in the park. Iran is not Iraq. Iran is not besieged Palestine. We need to stop this war. The entire message is also not simply about Iran. It's U.S. imperialism spreading across the globe. They started way back, as you guys know, in the 1800s, from the slave trade, from the Atlantic Wars, and then finally conquering this very land here that we're standing on from the Native Americans. Let's be clear about that. And it's still spreading. We need to stop this madness. We are not in the 17 or 1800s. We are not in the early days where there were inquisitions across the continent, where they went into what we know today as South America, where we know today is Canada. These were all indigenous lands, all Native American land, and we must always stand with them and stand with the truth. And we say enough is enough. So we don't need any new added wars. We don't need to put U.S. troops in further harm's way in Iran. We want our troops to get the hell out of the Middle East and come back here. Because militaries do not need to be in lands where they don't belong. If you have military, if you have law enforcement, if you have security, you protect the area where you're from here, right here. You don't need to be in Iran to protect my freedom. You don't need to be in Palestine to protect our democracy here. It doesn't make sense. So we need to wake up the masses, and we need to let them catch on to these continued lies, where American troops are fighting for oil, and they're telling us that they're protecting our democracy right here at home. So they're fighting wars 7,000 miles away to protect us here. It doesn't make sense, people. It's ludicrous. It's lunacy. We need to stop the madness. And I just want to remind you that a big part of this mess is the occupation of Palestine. We continuously want to protect Israel in the region. I know some of us don't like to talk about it, but it's necessary, because after oil, that's the bottom line. They're protecting Israel. So they see Iran as a threat to Israel. They see Iraq as a threat to Israel. They see every neighboring country that has any sort of power a threat to Israel. So we go to the rescue. We send our children to go die for Israel. That's the bottom line. So we need to stop this madness. We need to keep them here at home where they belong, and we demand that the U.S. troops come from around the globe, get off of the bases that we have globally, and send them back home right here, not just in the Middle East, across Southeast Asia, across the world. Bring them home.
Right.
No war on Iran!
No war on Iran.
No war on Iran!
No war on Iran.
U.S. troops out of the Middle East!
U.S. troops out of the Middle East.
U.S. troops out of the Middle East!
U.S. troops out of the Middle East.
U.S. troops out of the Middle East!
U.S. troops out of the Middle East.
And one more for Palestine, please. Thank you. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
End the occupation now!
End the occupation now.
End the occupation now!
End the occupation now.
Keep fighting, and thank you so much.
Fight the power.
Pentagon kills by the hour. What do we do?
Fight the power.
Pentagon kills by the hour. What do we do?
Fight the power.
Pentagon kills by the hour. What do we do?
Fight the power.
Pentagon kills by the hour. What do we do?
Fight the power.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, boys.
All right, are we ready for our next speaker? Yes? Not ready for our next speaker? Okay. Please welcome Sheryl from Refuse Fascism. Can we give her a hand, please?
Yeah!
No war, no genocide. Trump, Pence must go. No war, no genocide. Trump, Pence must go. No war, no genocide. Trump, Pence must go. And I want to say today that right now we have a fascist in the White House with an itchy Twitter finger on the nuclear button. Trigger finger too.
That works.
And I think we all know that. And I think we know that while for the moment they are not actively bombing Iran, it was a war crime to murder a head of state from Iran in yet another country where the U.S. doesn't even belong. That is not new to the U.S. Murdering people in other countries is not new to the U.S. Murdering the head of state, assassination of one of the heads of state, that is actually new. And there's no way of knowing what the Trump-Pence regime is going to do, currently facing impeachment, with whatever possibility they can come up with in Iran or anywhere else in the world. This is a regime that is unleashing violence. It's unleashing violence all around the world, and it's unleashing violence in this country. The murder of black people at church, the murder of Jews in synagogues, the murder of Muslims on the street, the banning of Muslims, the near banning of abortion and reproductive rights for women across the country, and concentration camps all across the border. Concentration camps in which children are dying and where doctors are turned away and arrested for attempting to deliver flu vaccine. Trump, Pence must go. And Refuse Fascism has been working for 3 years to drive this regime from power, while overwhelmingly the people in this country have waited for one thing after another. Maybe the Mueller reports will do it. Maybe whatever will do it. But the reality is that there's only one thing that will do it, and that's all of us having the courage to take the streets.
That's right.
Right now, Washington, D.C. We are in front of the Senate every day, and we are calling everyone, no matter what particular movement they support, to join with Out Now and demand Trump Pence out now, right now. Tomorrow there's an emergency meeting in Cleveland for Out Now, and everybody that sees it necessary to take a stand, please join us at St. Paul's Community Church, right at 45th and Franklin at 2 o'clock. No war, no genocide. Trump Pence out now. No war, no genocide. Trump Pence out now.
No war.
All right, how are we feeling? I know it's getting cold. Let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna lead us in another chant. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Biggest threat in the world today, Donald Trump and the USA. Biggest threat in the world today, Donald Trump and the USA. Biggest threat in the world today, Donald Trump and the USA. Biggest threat in the world today, Donald Trump and the USA. All right, please give a hand to our next speaker, Lou, who is a Vietnam veteran and also part of Veterans for Peace. Give a hand for Lou.
Thank you. Happy Chinese New Year, everybody. The year of the rat seems appropriate considering who's in the White House. Some people over the years have said to me, where are the stars on your flag? Where are the stars? And I tell them the stars are in hiding. They're ashamed, embarrassed, and disgusted with all the death, destruction, instability, and chaos we've caused in the Middle East. Shame. Millions upon millions of refugees, and it all started with us. Some people have said, your flag disrespects the American flag, it desecrates the American flag. And I said, well, I have a different perspective. I was in Vietnam for a year, and from my perspective, it doesn't disrespect or desecrate the American flag, it respects peace. People have never been in a war, people have never experienced a bitter taste of war, who never respect peace to the same degree I do. It just can't happen, it's impossible, can't even come close. Some people said, well, you have to have war before you have peace. I said, well, if we never had war, wouldn't we always have peace? Makes sense to me, it's pretty simple. Everybody knows there's a flagpole on top of the White House, American flag flying at the top. If I had my way, I'd put my peace flag on that pole, but I would fly it above the American flag. Thank you.
Awesome, let's give another hand for Lou. All right, I'm gonna lead us in another chant, all right? Are we ready? Yes, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist wars. 5, 6, 7, 8. Iran is a sovereign state. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist wars. 5, 6, 7, 8. Iran is a sovereign state.
2, 3, 4.
We don't want your racist wars. 5, 6, 7, 8. Iran is a sovereign state.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist wars. 5, 6, 7, 8. Iran is a sovereign state.
All right, thank you all so much. Let's give a hand for our next speaker, Pam from A Jewish Voice for Peace.
I admire all of you who are out there holding your signs and standing in the cold. Oops. Okay. I am here to talk about my Iranian friends, my friends in Iran, my Iranian friends here in the U.S. who still have family in Iran. I'm here because of the people in the U.S. and the people all around the world. There is no need for war. War is not the answer. And so I want to tell you a bit about my friend in Iran. She's a professor in Tehran. She's a psychologist. She has done wonderful things with families of deaf children and the deaf children. And the thought of bombs raining down on Iran and the people of Iran is horrifying to me. I like to think of President Eisenhower and what he said, because the money that is going to war is not going to our community needs. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who are hungry and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. This is not a way of life at all in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. I also like what Gandhi said. I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. Though Trump has backed away at the moment from more military action against Iran, he continues to attack the Iran nuclear peace deal. He's added sanctions to Iran, which create more hardship for the citizens of the country. Trump's complicity with Israel also makes war more likely. Israel is an enthusiastic partner in buying and selling arms and controlling the Middle East.
That's right.
Jewish Voice for Peace says, we do not want a costly, harmful war of choice with Iran, and we are committed to putting our people power to work to prevent one. One of the most interesting things I learned from my friend in Tehran is that all Iranian children learn English in schools. Yet, we here in the United States do not replicate that with teaching Middle Eastern languages. We are all people, we are all one, we are all here, and we need to have peace, freedom, dignity, and justice.
All right, can we just give another hand for Pam, please? Awesome. Okay, so just a couple more housekeeping things. We actually have like a really excellent flyer about Iran fast facts. So if you're ever talking to somebody who doesn't watch the news or is like, I'm not really interested in this stuff, this is a really great fact sheet to just kind of show the reality of the situation. To kind of push back against the propaganda that we see in our media. We're also passing out flyers for the Party for Socialism's event that's happening tomorrow. We'll be talking about imperialism in Latin America because, as we all know, imperialism is not just affecting the Middle East, it's also impacting the rest of the world, so we need to talk about it. We're going to open it up to public comment if anybody is interested in speaking. I know you've been sitting here diligently listening to our great roster of speakers, but if you feel so inclined to speak, feel free to come to the very front and we can get a tally of who's actually interested. In the meantime, let's hear a short statement from Dawn, who was one of the co-organizers of this event.
Thank you so much. I want to welcome our Muslim American and Iranian American friends that joined us today. Thank you for joining us so much. With Allow to the Palestine Right of Return movement, we're going to be protesting AIPAC, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee in March 1st in Washington, D.C. We'll be leaving from Cleveland on that day to protest our 3rd or 4th year in a row, or is it longer? It's probably 10 years. We say AIPAC out of a U.S. foreign policy. That's what we're saying. No more wars for Israel. Thank you. That's March 1st. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Doesn't look like anybody's interested in public comment, which is fine. We've been sitting out here for a while. So I guess we'll close out through another chant. But if you're available afterwards, feel free to do like a walk around the block with your signs, because people really need to see these signs and really understand what we're fighting for, okay? All right, how are we feeling? Last chant, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, okay, cool. All right, follow me. Trump's lies, shut it down. Imperialism, shut it down. Endless war, shut it down. The whole damn system,
Shut it down!
Trump's lies,
Shut it down!
imperialism,
Shut it down!
endless war,
Shut it
the
down!
whole damn system.
Shut it down!
Trump's lies,
Shut it down!
imperialism,
Shut it down!
endless war,
Shut it down!
the whole damn system.
Shut it down!
Trump's lies,
Shut it down!
imperialism,
Shut it down!
endless war,
Shut it
the
down!
whole damn system.
Shut it down!
All right, thank you, comrades, so much for coming out. Remember that we're also having another event tomorrow if you're available. Feel free to come up to me.